We're back, of course, we're talking FF7, we're talking Rebirth, and I've said before in a previous video that the Queen's Blood reveal was kind of my favorite reveal so far, and that still mostly stands being a trading card game fan, but also really enjoying those kind of card mini games that were in Final Fantasy VIII and IX, and also other RPGs like Gwent and Witcher 3 and stuff like that. I'm just a big fan of like a card game and an RPG. It's pretty fun. Go around fighting people and collecting cards, things like that. While that is probably my favorite reveal, I think the thing that's most intriguing to me right now that we don't really know anything about is the skill tree system that we know they're putting into Rebirth. And we really don't know anything about it as far as I'm aware. We had like a PlayStation blog interview with some of the devs, and Hamaguchi mentioned that there's character skill trees for growth and that you can also unlock synergy abilities through it. That's kind of it. As I mention all the time, as of right now with Rebirth, like it's exceeding all of my expectations and a lot of other people's expectations. I never would have thought with Rebirth or the third game that there would be a skill tree system. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be stat-based. We know there's going to be synergy abilities you can unlock, but are there other things? Are there other skills and attacks and abilities and things like that that you can unlock? Or is it just you're increasing your stats and unlocking like synergy abilities? I don't know yet. But I still never would have expected this, because we have it in the Final Fantasy franchise, but we haven't had that really with FF7 as far as I'm aware, right? I don't know. I think Dirge Cerberus, you can like upgrade your weapons. I don't think there's like a skill tree system. I could be wrong. And like before Crisis and stuff like that, I'm not really aware of, right? But when it comes to like FF7 and Crisis Core and even Remake, there's just not a skill tree system. And obviously, we had like Final Fantasy X Sphere Grid, Final Fantasy XII's License Board. We had 13's Crystarium. I don't know about the 13 sequels. We had 15 with its... I can't remember what it's called now. Fuck. I just platinumed this game not that long ago. Whatever the progression thing was in 15, and obviously 16, you had like a skill tree sort of thing with all the icon stuff for Clive. So we've had this before, but not with Final Fantasy VII, right? Where the kind of character builds come in is, I guess with the original FF7, it is still kind of based on your character a little bit. Like most limit breaks are just like damaging attacks, right? You do have a little bit of stuff like Aerith being like a white mage kind of in the original FF7, but it comes down to like your materia, a little bit of your weapons as well. And when it comes to Remake, it is your weapons because of the weapon cores, but also it's still really just down to materia. But now if we're gonna have like a skill tree system, that promotes a lot of possibilities for character builds. It depends on how it's going to be handled, because it just depends on the RPG you're playing. You can either unlock every single ability, or you have a limited amount of like skill points to unlock shit, and you got to kind of decide your build. Like, you're going to take this ability, that ability, that ability, and then that's it. And my build's going to be different than your build, and our builds are going to be different than that guy's build, right? Because you can only have a limited amount of skills equipped at one time. Witcher 3 is an example of this. Witcher 3 you can unlock, I think, probably every ability if you level up enough. I don't know if there's a level cap in that game, but you can only equip so many abilities at one time, right? And you always have the freedom to like drink a potion that like gives you back all your skill points, and you can respec your build. And something with like 16 has that too. At any time, you can spend a little bit of gold and just get all your skill points back and respec your build in 16 as well. You can inevitably get every ability in that game as well, but still. It kind of comes down to what kind of a skill tree system this is going to be. Is it going to be one that you can just unlock everything and use everything, and that's it? Is there going to be like a limited amount of slots and you can like, equip skills? Are there even going to be skills to unlock at all when it comes to this skill tree in terms of like other attacks or abilities? And when it comes to like the synergy system, how's that going to work? You can unlock synergy abilities, so like maybe you can spec into like particular synergies, like a Cloud Tifa synergy, like more damage it does, or like less like charges to do it. Maybe like it takes like 4 by default, but you can like spec into that synergy ability and like it takes 3 to do it or something. I don't know, something along those lines. Whether or not it's going to be like a skill tree system that allows you to unlock everything and use everything, or limited slots, I don't know where I fall on that, because I'm fine with either realistically. I do like the idea of there being limited amount of abilities you can equip, because that promotes character builds, right? Like that makes it to where like I can go down this route with Cloud or that route with Cloud, and it's not just unlock everything and you just have every ability and everything. Like the Sphere Grid is a good example of this. Like the Sphere Grid's cool, kind of early-ish to mid-game, but like by the end of the game, everybody has everything, right? And if you're actually willing to grind and unlock the full Sphere Grid for every single character, which is obviously a son of a bitch. I have a few kind of like hopes when it comes to the skill tree system. One of them being that there is actually abilities to unlock. I don't want it to just be like increasing our stats and like unlocking synergy abilities. I want there to be like unique abilities that each and every character themselves have. Like there's under Cloud's skill tree system, there's an attack or something that he gets, or some sort of passive that only he has and not everybody else has, right? Like I'm kind of hoping for that. And also hope that when it comes to the skill tree system, that they're unique to each and every character, but also like kind of leaning in favor of that character's role when it comes to Final Fantasy. I guess more specifically would be like jobs in like older Final Fantasies. For example, like I mentioned, Aerith is like a healer. Barrett's kind of like your tank, right? So it'd be kind of cool if like when your own Barrett's like skill tree, like you could go down like a route that like makes him more tanky or something, right? He has the still skin ability in a Remake that buffs his defenses. So it'd be kind of cool if you could spec into like still skin and make still skin even better, right? Maybe it buffs his defenses more. Maybe when he activates Still Skin, if anybody's like close enough to him, they'll also get like a defense boost or something. Shit like that. It kind of leans in favor of their roles. The skill tree does indeed have stats, and like with Barrett being a tanky kind of character, like his skill tree would probably have like more defense stuff, like more physical defense, more magic defense, and more like HP boost than like other characters, because that's what he's meant to have. Aerith, you could like maybe spec into making her healing even better, stuff like that. Yuffie's kind of like that ninja / thief character, so maybe like her stealing gets better and better if you like go down a route that makes her like odds of stealing better, she steals better items, things like that, right? It's kind of like an all-rounder character, but he'd be like a knight or something if we're like giving him a job. Obviously, Tifa's like a monk, just things like that. They just kind of lean in favor of like what their roles are meant to be, even though there's not actually classes and stuff or jobs when it comes to FF7. I do really like the idea of like being able to spec into abilities, because when it came to like Remake, I think I always used Focus Thrust, Triple Slash, and I don't remember what other one for Cloud. It'd be kind of cool if you could just focus on the abilities that you like and make them better. Regardless of how it's all handled, there's a lot of possibilities when it comes to Rebirth, a lot of RPG elements, because you obviously have your weapons from Remake with their weapon cores, and they're probably going to add like additional weapon cores that didn't exist for previous weapons like the Buster Sword. Obviously brand new weapons, and each weapon is unique in terms of the stats that it gives you, but also some of the abilities and passives it gives you and stuff like that. And then you obviously have your armor and your accessory, which give you different kinds of buffs and protections and things, then your materias. And then on top of that, now we have the skill tree system. It just kind of comes down to how that skill tree system is handled. Is it just stats and synergy abilities, or is there other stuff? And can we unlock everything, or is there a limited amount of things we can equip? Depending on how that skill tree system is handled, this could maybe be the best Final Fantasy, as I've said several times in the last couple of weeks and shit, man. Because if there's like uniqueness between characters and individuality and their own abilities and passives and things that are a part of this skill tree system, on top of like everything else we've seen for Rebirth in terms of like the size of like the zones to explore, the freedom to explore, backtrack, do all you want, the seamless world by the end of the game, the chocobos, the side content, the mini games, the crafting system, what the fuck? And if you add on top of all of this an actual like good skill tree system with like really good RPG mechanics, kind of has to be the best Final Fantasy, right? That's not even really including like my Final Fantasy VII bias. Like it's just going to offer so much more than like any Final Fantasy in recent memory, and maybe just in general. The rest of the video I'm going to do is just want to have a little bit of a discussion on the skill tree system when it comes to Rebirth, because it's very exciting for me. I'm hoping that we get more of this either in like the next trailer or any sort of like showcase they might want to do for the game, or like an interview. I want them to talk about the skill tree system, right? Explain it a little bit, because I need to know exactly what it is. Is it just stats and synergy abilities, or is there more to it? Of course, pass off to you guys. What are your thoughts on the skill tree system? How do you think it's going to be handled? Is it going to be simplified? Is it just like stats and synergy abilities? Maybe you can progress the synergy abilities and that's kind of it. Is there going to be more to it in terms of like other abilities for the characters and passives and things like that? How do you think it's going to be handled? And are you looking forward to it? That's the video. Subscribe to you guys are new, so works in the description below. Follow me to dashingdavidbusiness. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect, we spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane, we in here like Rogaine, or leave it like Cobain.